The world is in danger, and for some reason there are only like 5 or 6 real solid people who actually care enough about saving the planet and defending life as we know it to actually do something about it. Sounds about right. Hi, Kason here. Have you ever noticed how most video games you play involve saving the entire world in one way or another? In Storytelling Tropes, we're going to be exploring cliche storytelling methods, also known as tropes, what they are, why they're useful, how they can sometimes become annoying, and also where they came from. Today is all about saving the world. When it comes to saving the world in storytelling, few people care to do this but the character you're following and his friends. It's pretty fortunate that we were able to bump into them. In this task, we are completely alone. Others who say they want to help really just sit around and sell you some items at way too high a price, I might add. Anyone else that's trying to save the world either joins you or dies. Rarely is someone else ahead of you in trying to save the world. Maybe this happens every now and then, but usually no one else has even thought that there might be a problem to begin with. Many movies and games get around this by having the evil world-destroying plot be very secretive. People can just go about their lives without ever knowing that there was anything wrong, until it's too late, of course. Is this trope modern or unique to video games and movies? Allow me to recount one of the oldest stories ever recorded, the Great Flood, also known as Noah's Ark. According to the Christian tradition, which is not the only or even the oldest version of this story, about 8 people went on the ark and were saved from the entire destruction of the world. Kind of a small number. Now, Noah didn't save the world per se, but according to the story, he saved the most precious parts of the world, the life that lived on it. From that point, a new world was able to be reborn, as it were. These storytelling tropes go back a long time. They aren't merely frivolous tricks to captivate audiences. They play in part into our tribal, small group-oriented tendencies that humans have carried around for the past few 100,000 years. Us against the world. There's a strangely romantic sentiment in that line. It plays towards a more adolescent and rebellious nature. But whoever said rebellions are a bad thing? This guy said that. My personal feelings are, I'd rather the entire world not be at stake in every game I play. It's fun when you're doing your best to save someone you care about, family, friends. It doesn't need to be the world, though I can certainly understand what's so appealing about the notion. Of course, sometimes you start out helping your friends, and then the situation escalates once you realize what you've gotten yourself into. This is another trope, the save the world climax. Sometimes a story starts out with a small conflict, but then escalates to the point that the hero's party has to save the entire world. This is not uncommon. It's kind of a have your cake and eat it too scenario. No, the main character didn't set off to save the world. He/she just wanted to help their friend. They got themselves into that situation afterward. This makes things a little more relatable. Sure, we want to save the world, but where do we start? Well, people who've done those kinds of things have to start somewhere. Small steps at first. Like Link just wanting to save his sister, who was briefly mistaken for Princess Zelda and kidnapped. Somehow, after attempting to brave the seas to save his family member, he becomes acquainted with an evil plot to destroy the world. Thus begin the true adventures of the Wind Waker. This way we can have someone like us, someone not fit to save the world or anything, someone humble, who is in a situation too big for themselves. Someone who would never in a million years have thought themselves to be called upon to save the world, yet here they are. These stories tend to have more heart because they're more relatable. Often with the sacrifices made by the character, the thought, they didn't ask for this, comes into my head. But what else can you do when faced with such decisions? Because in the end, it's all up to you. It's up to you. The main character is always the one to do everything. In fact, nothing happens unless your character does it. Take Final Fantasy XV side quests, for example. People sending you on small errands even though you're the prince whose father just died. No matter the situation, the player is powerless to turn down these assignments, even if their character should have that choice. NPCs, of course, are completely useless, given the exact same abilities and tools as the main character. I first noticed this in Star Fox for the SNES. The teammates of mine, yeah, they're busy getting shot at, not helping at all. In fact, they take a great deal of my time to save them. The player gets to do these things, so there'll be more in the game, but the story suffers by focusing all the action on one character. Luckily, it's our character. But this leads to an immersion-breaking experience, as our party members ought to at least have some skill. Am I really that much better than all of them? But in the end, were it not for this trope, we wouldn't be able to take all the credit for saving the world. If we had too much help, then we lose that all-important power fantasy. Ultimately, saving the world plays to a power fantasy held by a lot of people. It's likely a part of why most of us play games in the first place. It's not always the saving the world part that people really love. It's the strength or the ability to save the world that many people are really after. Saving the world may seem altruistic, and as a character motivation, it's very powerful. But as it relates to us, those who consume the content, well, maybe we're a little bit less generous than the characters we're following. Most movies that involve saving the world are action films. Do people watch action films to see the world be saved? Actually, usually they watch it to see destruction. Utter destruction. Action, fighting, explosions, car chases, violence. Honestly, those are the coolest parts of these films. Or in a game, the character may be saving the world, but is doing so by killing people by the hundreds. Are we here to watch violence end or begin? This opens up a whole new can of worms I'll probably just have to tackle in another video. Somehow still, we aren't satisfied with putting the game down unless we have completely saved the world. The only other reason we would stop playing the game is if it became too boring. I know this doesn't account for every game ever made, but these tropes are insanely powerful, and we identify with them whether we want to or not. If the violence is going to end, it's going to end on our terms, and it won't end until we want it to. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Am I defending tropes a little bit too much? Am I accounting for their existence when others seem to be bored of them or just want to get rid of them? Well, tropes are kind of like archetypes of storytelling. They are literally connected to our DNA. Certain storytelling methods and cliches have been internalized for generations, going way back down the evolutionary chain, that they have literally become a part of us. I don't want them to go away, but I do want to understand them so that I can understand more about myself. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on our next podcast. See you later.